It's your smell. What the bird is barbecuing.
G'day jabronis, it is the Verd back with you again, and welcome here to the Week 1 match we have here for the National Pokeball League Minors Tournament. Oh, not tournament, it's kind of the Minors League. Anyway, your Tampa Bay Frogadiers, we are up against the Portland Trail Blazikens coach Andrew, or Muse the Best. Go check out his channel in the link below. This is going to be a really good game. Obviously, I'm very, very nervous because it's the first week, I want to make a good impression, and he has a Magearna. So, I mean, Magearna's been proven to be pretty darn broken. I'm going to try my best to beat it, but no promises, guys. Like, it's a very tough mon to beat. But regardless, we're going to see how this goes. Hopefully you enjoy the video. So, when I was building my team, one of the big things, obviously, was the fact that when it came to Magearna, I had the possibility of things like Celesteela and Alolan Marowak, who are two very good checks. And I figured because of that, Celesteela's probably going to have to run its Fairy move, it's going to have to run Thunderbolt to deal with Celesteela and Toxapex, and then Shadow Ball would be the move to deal with Marowak. So I actually expected something like Assault Vest Magearna, something like that. Made a lot of sense to me in this matchup for coverage reasons, mainly. But because of that, I kind of just built this team. It went really well in the mocks. I won all my mocks with it, so basically going to try and break it down in a step. So first up was Mew. Defensive Mew is really nice against this team. Being able to check things like Emboar, Aerodactyl, Krook even to an extent, like Krook and Zygarde. Krook especially because like even with Ground EMZ, Knockoff's not doing that much. Really wish I'd used this better in the actual battle, but I didn't. I have Ground EMZ with Earth Power because it is for the combination of Emboar plus Magearna, who think they can take me on. Oko, pretty much Oko's Emboar, and it does a hefty amount to Magearna. So if it's AV, it's doing over half, which is really good to chip that thing as a major threat. And if it is like a shift gear set, then I can do like over 75 to 80% to it, which is great. Like, it just weakens it for so many things on my team. It means it's not going to be a huge threat. So that was really important. Willow, obviously, there to shut down the physical attackers, and then Ice Beam, just for really good coverage against the rest of his team, and Roost for obvious reasons. I decided next to go with Gliscor. Initially, this was actually Toxapex, and I replaced it with Gliscor because I liked how less passive Gliscor was. It was able to hit pretty much everything on his team quite hard with the combination of Ice Fang plus EQ. Rocks are really nice to deter his team, and like he had basically made him have to force to bring Starmie, and then Roost is really nice again to just heal off the damage. I didn't really play Gliscor that well in this game, though. I'll be honest with you, but a mon that was really nice to me in practice, and then like it's just very good in this matchup is Alolan Muck. I'm running a pretty weird set, I guess, this week. Knockoff, Gongshot, and Pursuit kind of makes sense, but for Magearna, I was tossing up between Fire Blast and Infestation. Fire Blast was great if it was like maybe Shift Gear, then I can get a good amount of damage, but Infestation made a lot more sense because it allowed Magearna to be trapped and stay in and have to be forced to go for a move, and I could switch out into something to deal with it at that point in time. And also it was good for things like Crocodile that wanted to come in against me, because like Krook was always switching in on Muck, so being able to infestate that and then being able to go out to Gliscor or Mew respectively was really, really nice for me. Pursuit's just really good because it lets me trap and just weaken things like the Starmie and the Thundurus so easily. Infestation also allows me to beat Nasty Plot Thundurus 1v1 because, as you'll see, I take literally 0 from those moves, but the dual AV core was what I went with this week, and actually brought Komala. Crazy. But Komala literally just eats up the hits. U-turn's really nice for momentum. Earthquake's really good to hit Magearna and things with like Emboar. Rapid Spin obviously to get rid of any opposing hazards. And then Rock Slide was there for Thundurus as well as Mega Aerodactyl to be able to get some damage off on those guys. Because as you can see, like I didn't really have way to hit either of them super hard, but this thing was like, it was tanking so many hits. Like Magearna's Fleur Cannon was a 3 KO. It was ridiculous. But Buzzwole was the next one that I brought to this game. Pretty cool set. Like honestly, I was really enjoying this in the mocks. Cobra because that way I can live a Hidden Power Flying from Thundurus, an Aerial Ace from Krook, or an Aerial Ace from Aero. Ice Punch obviously is great. Ice Punch plus Earthquake pretty much was really good coverage for his team. I just need to get rid of Starmie, hence why I have the Pursuit on Muck. And then this set can pretty much just like rip through him, so that was really, really nice. And then finishing off, obviously, with a Scarf Xurkitree. Now, funnily enough, Scarf Xurkitree outslows Aero by a point, which is really nice though because it does force him to probably run Jolly, which I can obviously take advantage of more with this team. But this set is still really nice. Running Dazzling Gleam plus Signal Beam because Signal Beam allows me to hit Krook as well as Tangrowth, whereas Dazzling Gleam allows me to hit Krook as well as Zygarde, things like that. So it was just overall made a lot of sense. But yeah, that was the team, guys. So what I'm going to do now is basically jump into the battle, kind of explain how the battle went down, and yeah. Alright, so here we are with the battle, guys. Unfortunately, for some reason, the replay is not showing Magina. I think it's because he chose it to be shiny, but whatever. Like, regardless, the team that he brought was Starmie, Zygarde, Thundurus, Mega Arrow, Magina, and Krook. Now, first of all, I saw no Emboar, which was really nice. That meant that there was less pressure on Gliscor and Mew to take a lot of physical hits, which is really, really good for my team. Starmie was a little bit surprising. I had seen a few people use Starmie, but unless he's bringing Reflect type, it's just going to lose to Muck. The dual ground types is also very interesting. I fully expected Emboar over Zygarde. I feel it's a lot better in this matchup, but yeah, like, you know, what are you going to do? Everything else is pretty much expected, as I said. Like, when I was predicting his team, I think I predicted Tangrowth and Emboar over Zygarde and Starmie, just because like things like Mega Sceptile were just a threat. Like, this team does not like SD Mega Sceptile, but regardless, what we're going to do, what I'm going to do here is just crack into the battle and let it play out. But looking at his team, Mew just had a really nice lead matchup, so I decided to lead with it. As he's going to lead with his Thundurus, I decided to go straight into my Alolan Muck, and as you can see, that does 18% from Life Orb Volt Switch. That was ridiculous, but at this point I was like, okay, he's probably going to go into his Krook, as he does. Now at this point I made probably, I wouldn't say it was the biggest misplay of the battle, it was a bad misplay. So obviously Krook could have gone for Earthquake here. That would have done a ton to my Muck, probably would have knocked it out, and I made the decision to go out to my Gliscor here. Now that's a bad play on my part, because the thing is, he knows that I shouldn't stay in here, and he's going to go for the knockoff, and I have Groundium Z on Mew. Now if this is a Choice Scarf Crocodile, then Groundium Z being held on there means he's going to be doing base 65 moves. I'm defensive, so I can eat those hits up, and my Groundium Z doesn't get knocked off. So Mew was definitely the switch I should have gone for, but this was early in the morning. I didn't think it through that great, and I went into Gliscor, and I get my Toxic Orb knocked off, which is not great. But what this does allow me to do is it does give me a free turn to get up rocks as he goes into his Starmie, and this is really nice because I can just go hard into my Muck, as he would have spit. Now this turn, I figured if he had the Reflect type, this would be the time to reveal it, because it's so obvious that I can Pursuit Trap a Starmie. Like, it makes a lot of sense for me to Pursuit Trap this Starmie right here, right now. Because of this, I'm actually going to predict the either Reflect type or the hard switch out to Crocodile or Magina. I'm going to go for that knockoff. I'm not going to allow him to get any momentum here. As he does go into Krook, I can fire off that knockoff and get rid of the Choice Scarf. That's really good info to know. I can double back into my Gliscor, and he's going to go for EQ. Now, he said in the chat that he messed up a move. I'm thinking he maybe forgot to put on Ice Fang for Crocodile, which was really unfortunate if he did, but it means that I can just freely go for Roost here. The reason I went for Roost is because if he went out to Thundurus, I had ways to deal with it. And if he stayed in with Crocodile, I could actually take the Ice Fang if he did still pack it, and I can kind of scout in that sense. But now that this is in, I know exactly what I can do. I can just go into Muck, and as I saw from the Volt, which is not going to do anything to me, and HP Ice does 11%, which is pitiful. I know he's going to try and switch out here, so I'm going to go for the Pursuit. He gets a crit on Muck now. That didn't really matter too much. It was more annoying than anything. It didn't really change the course of the battle that drastically, but it was more just an annoying thing that happened. But I do get the Pursuit off, and I get a crazy amount of damage off, which is phenomenal. He goes back into Krook, but at the same time, like, I can go into Gliscor. I don't even mind this. Like, I don't even mind him going into Starmie predicting Gliscor, because at this point what I can just do is go hard into my Komala. Now the reason I go hard into Komala is because I have Comatose. Comatose means that if he goes for Scald, he is not able to burn me. As he does go for Scald, he doesn't get the crit, which is nice. And he's going to switch out back out to Krook, and this is a free U-turn, and this is a -1 U-turn. That still does so much to Crocodile, guys. That's insane. I got to Zerk, and the reason I got to Zerk here is because, one, he doesn't know whether I'm Scarfed or not. It could be Shooker, and regardless. The thing is, I can go for a Dazzling Gleam pretty safely here. I was tempted to go for Signal, but I went for Dazzling because it would it would knock out Krook, it would knock out Thundy, it would get enough damage on Zygarde to kill it. It would chip away at Starmie to the point where I could just go hard into Muck afterwards and kill it. It would hit Arrow hard, and if Magina did come in, I had plays around it. But he actually does choose to actually leaving Krook and let it die to the Dazzling Gleam, so that's really nice. I think he did that because it allowed him to go free into Magina, but he actually chooses to go free into Arrow. And I was like, okay, this is probably going to be Earthquake, so I decided to go hard into Mew, as he does Mega Up, and he does fire off the EQ. Now that only does 21%, so I eat that up pretty easily. He's going to go back out the Starmie. I'm going to go for the Willow. Now, okay, obviously this wasn't maybe my best play. Potentially could have gone for Ice Beam there. The other potential play that I think might have been better was going hard into Muck, but the reason why that's a bad idea is because for some reason he may just go for like Taunt or something on his Arrow. I think that might have been a better play for him overall. So I decided to go for the Willow, because if he taunted me, at least Mew was staying in. I could go for the Ice Beam next turn, making him feel like he was safe against this Mew, and then I could just knock him out. So honestly, like, this is also nice because he wanted to switch out to preserve this thing, as he tries to go for Toxic. So I've seen on this moveset already that he has Scald, Rapid Spin, Toxic. So I'm like, okay, his last move has to be Recover. It has to be. It's either Recover or it's Reflect type, because that makes sense. Or else you're just getting absolutely walled by a Alolan Muck, and you're not really doing that much to Mew in the long run, other than Toxicing it, which, like, I guess can work, but at the same time. So I'm like, okay, you're going to switch. So let's just Pursuit Trap you. And, like, Starmie's pretty much dead now, so that's great. He's going to go into Magearna, which is obviously the bane of my existence, as he's going to Fluid Cannon. As you see, Komala takes 35% from Fluid Cannon. That was a snack. I'm just going to go for U-turn as he goes into the Zygarde, and I'm just going to go out to my brother. Now, we'll go out to Buzzwole, because at this point, I was like, okay, I'm looking at this Starmie set. It's got Scald, Rapid Spin, Toxic. It makes complete sense for the last move to be Recover. If you look at my team, things like Gliscor, Komala, Mew, the things that punish it, it should have a way. It should have a way to heal itself. So I'm like, fine, I'm just going to bulk up, because the thing is, he could Toxic me here and that's fine. But he actually reveals the Psyshock and gets a crit. Now, for two reasons this sucks. One, the crit really sucks because it now puts me in range of dying to Aerodactyl's Aerial Ace, as well as it now puts me in range of dying to Thundurus straight up. So those two things are really unfortunate. The next thing that's really unfortunate with this whole situation is the fact that he actually is running Psyshock. So his moveset is Scald, Psyshock, Rapid Spin, Toxic. So he has no form of recovery on Starmie. So how is it going to be a reliable spinner for him in the game if it's constantly taking the rocks damage? So not really sure why Andrew brought that set. Like, obviously in this situation it worked, but in a lot of other situations that set is not going to work for him. So I don't really agree with that. I think that, you know, running Recover made a lot more sense in this matchup, but the crit does really suck, as obviously I can EQ and knock out the Starmie, which is great, and he does go into Aero, and I'm like, okay, this is a roll. Because of the crit, it is a roll in his favor to kill me if he goes for it, but he actually ends up going for the Stone Edge, which is really nice. Now, that's where putting in my HP investment and Aero probably being a Jolly Nature comes in clutch, because Adamant probably could have knocked me out, but I am able to tank that. Now, I could have gone for Roost there. It would have been a really, really nice play, because it would have given me enough health to be able to, you know, take a hit from Magearna, force Thundurus to take a Life Orb hit in order to kill me, to allow Xurkitree to just come in for free and pick off a kill. The reason why I didn't go for Roost, guys, is because I fully expected him to go for Ace. Like, he had no reason not to go for Ace, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go for Ice Punch, and if it knocks him out, cool. And it did knock him out, so I was like, hell yeah. Now he goes into Thundurus, and I decide, okay, so here's another bad play on my part. At that point of the battle, I should have sacked off Buzzwole. Reason for that is because if he went for Volt Switch there and knocked out my Buzzwole, he took Life Orb damage, and then he had to go out to Magearna or Zygarde. Either way, Mew comes in against both, can take a hit from Zygarde, can go for the Tectonic Rage on Magearna to knock it out. Oh, not knock it out, but like get off enough damage. So that was probably the biggest misplay, and it's gonna cost me hardcore. Basically, if I had done that play, I think we could have just got the 6-0 with Mew for the fact that it did kind of solo. But I ended up going into Alolan Muck. It was a really bad play on my part. That was probably the biggest misplay. I'm not going to put the fact that I was up early as an excuse, but at this point I'm like, okay, this could be Z move. And I should have realized it was Z move. I should have just gone straight for the Infestation, but on the off chance it wasn't, I went for a knockoff, just in case. It doesn't do shit, and now I'm like, okay, this is a problem. But I go for Infestation, and now this is where things are like, okay, we have an issue here. This is a Magearna that has a Shift Gear and a Carmine up. It has Soul Heart, which basically means every time it kills a Mon, it gets +1 special attack. So I'm like, okay, I need to think of a way to beat this thing fast. So I was processing what I could do in order to beat this thing. And I was like, okay, well, I've seen Shift Gear, I've seen Carmine. It only has 2 attacking moves. And that's where it was kind of getting to me. The fact that, as I said earlier, I have a Celesteela and an Alolan Marowak. So, obvious, and a Toxapex, like, to an extent. He's running something that doesn't deal with one of them. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Did I go to Buzzwole to sack it? Because I don't think Buzzwole's going to do anything, but I should have sacked it earlier. Like, that's how the dumb was. But okay, so he's at neutral. And I'm like, Kamala has got this. We've seen before from a neutral Magearna, Kamala can live this. Kamala can fire off an EQ, and that gives us a really good chance from here, because after the Fleur Cannon, he'll be at -1 special attack, and I can take advantage of this. So I'm like, okay, Kamala, you got this, son. Never mind, he is Z Twinkle Tackle. And that's when it was starting to hit me. So he had Fleur Cannon, which meant his last move had to be T-Bolt, which means he didn't have an effective way to stop my Marowak. His only Marowak check basically on his entire team was Crocodile with Pursuit. That was it. Marowak just destroyed everything else. Like, I literally clicked Shadowbone on everything else, and it was taking a ton. Like, Zygarde can kind of take it, but still. That obviously is predicting me not to bring a Alolan Marowak, which is, I guess, good prep on his part, but at the same time, if I brought a Alolan Marowak, you know, I don't know, but unfortunately, I am going to lose Kamala. And the really shit thing about this is because he used the Z move and not Fleur Cannon, it means that he got the special attack raise and didn't lose 2 special attacks. So I'm in a really bad spot. I'm like, okay, shit, this is bad. I need to try and force his hand a little bit here. So how I do it is I bait him into a situation where Calm Mining with it is a bad idea, and I force it to go for its Fleur Cannon. So I decided to go into Gliscor to bait, and then bait the Fleur Cannon, and then he's back to neutral. I'm like, okay, this is my chance. At this point, there were a couple of plays in my mind, and the play that basically made the most sense in order for me to win was I go Gliscor, I can take the Fleur Cannon, and then I can go for Earthquake. Earthquake will bring him down to a range where he will die to potential Scarf Circuitry, but the other big thing was Mew at this point. So the reason why Mew was kind of important was because I could go with Gliscor, go for EQ here, bring him down to like 10% maybe. Gliscor would then die after one Fleur Cannon to the next Fleur Cannon, but after that, his Magearna has taken 1 Fleur Cannon of damage, which is obviously not ideal for him. He's taken 1 Fleur Cannon of damage, then he takes another Fleur Cannon on top of that, so he's at -3 after the Soul Heart boost, which basically means that he is at -3, Mew can come in, I can take the Fleur Cannon, obviously, knock him out, be at a good range of health to deal with Zygarde, plus Thundurus, and have Scarf Circuitry in the back. So that was my thought process when I went into Gliscor. But he actually ends up going for a Calm Mind. Now, this is a problem, because with Calm Mind, it means that I can go for Earthquake now, it won't kill. He can go for Fleur Cannon, knock me out, but after he gets the boost, he'll be at neutral. Now that is not good for my Mew. What I would probably have to do then, if that had happened, is I would have gone out to Xurkitree most likely, because by going out to Xurkitree at that point, I would have to bait another Fleur Cannon to go off, because from the damage from EQ, he will die to an electric move. So baiting the Fleur Cannon, putting him at -2 special attack. And then I can go into Mew, click my Tectonic Rage, he's at -2 special attack, I could eat up the hit, knock him out. Then all I gotta do is take the Life Orb hits from Thundurus, where I could just go for Roost to roost them off. And then it's a 1v1 with Zygarde, and I have Ice Beam. So I should be able to 1v1 Zygarde. What actually ends up happening, guys, is after he goes to the Calm Mind, I get a crit on the EQ. Now, this definitely mattered. This 110% mattered. He wouldn't have easily lived. It was like 68 to 72%. I think the roll, but that crit sucks so much. Basically, it rejected Magearna of 2 more kills in this game. Not that it already hadn't got its 3 kills for the game, but yeah, it was really unfortunate. I did have an exit strategy against it, I feel, and I feel that Mew could have soloed against Thundurus plus Zygarde by itself, so I did have that backup plan in there. It was just unfortunate that the hacks did happen. I did apologize to Andrew afterwards, but at the same time, he did hack my Buzzwole, and Buzzwole could have put in a lot more work after that, but this battle could have been over a lot sooner if I just sacked off Buzzwole at that point, and it was just a stupid play on my part, but I end up getting a little bit of luck back, I suppose, and knock out his Magearna. He actually goes into Zygarde here. I don't know why he didn't choose to just go into Thundurus. At this point, I have the Ice Fang. I guess he's DDing, hoping for something here, but I do have the Ice Fang. And at this point, I can just go for 2 Ice Fangs, knock out Zygarde. Now here I make a bit of a misplay, but at this point I was like, okay, I just want to make sure I win. I don't want to try and choke this game away to some stupid decision making. I know he's going to die to Life Orb. I decided to stay in, because at this point I was just like still blown away by the fact that I was able to actually kill that Magearna. And I'm just like, okay, maybe he won't go for HP Ice. So I was like, god damn. And in the end, Zerk just comes in, and I can just go for the Volt Switch to clean up, and your Tampa Frogadiers get a 2-0 win. This was a very, very close game. Like I said, even without the crit, I think the game was still mine, just because of the fact that Xurkitree came in as a sack to die. That meant then that after that, he would be at -1 special attack, which Mew could absolutely swallow a Fleur Cannon from. I could go for my Z Earth Power and knock him out. He hadn't actually seen any of my offensive moves from Mew, so he didn't know what I had, so he may have gone for a Carmine, would have got knocked out by Z Earth Power. And then that would have opened the door for a full health Mew to deal with Thundurus plus Zygarde. If Thundurus came in, obviously I had Roost, so I could basically just Roost up against it, 1v1 it, and then it was just down to how much Zygarde could do to me. I'm pretty confident an Ice Beam from a Mew would have OHKO'd, so it really just came down to whether if it was an Adamant Zygarde, whether it could knock me out or not, but I don't know if he would have run Adamant, because then I think things like Zerk would have outsped him at +1, so overall, this was a very, very close match. Andrew brought a very, very good team. I really expected some different things. The Magearna set really threw me off. I didn't play my best around it, but I do feel that despite the hacks, I did have a way to beat it. It would have been very situational, depends on rolls and whatnot, but the hacks was in my favor at the end there, and we do pick up a 2-0 win to start our Minors campaign. So that's one match of 7 down. If we can win all 7 of these games, we will make it into Majors, which, I mean, as an analyst would be freaking insane. But next week is another big challenge. We have the Uzi Gunner, coach of the Bullet Punch Club. Too sweet! And that's going to be an awesome game. I'm looking forward to it. Uzi and I, we get along pretty well, so that's going to be a lot of fun to do. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Yeah, we start off with a victory, but oh man, it was a pretty rough game, not going to lie. But that's going to do it for me, guys. My name is The Verd. I'm out this bitch.